Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? Good. I'm Kathianne Lewis, and you are at the Center for Spiritual Living. It's great to have you here. I have just a few things to allow us to just sink into that light and that love and that glory. You know, there's discussions about how people are becoming less religious and more spiritual. In fact, there's a whole group of people who would consider themselves spiritual but not religious. And I think that's great, except religion really is to bring you a spiritual experience. The word religion means bind together. It's the root of that, or the root of the word religion means bind together. Religion was for the purpose of bringing the human soul in closer conscious awareness, because you can't get any closer, but closer conscious awareness with a person's spirit, their spirit, their God, their higher self. So, you know, maybe we are spiritual and religious, and then we get a double dose. But so just thought I'd throw that out there. Yeah. And if you like that idea, if you think that people can come to a spiritual center and still be spiritual, because a lot of people in the Northwest think the only way they can find spirit is somewhere else. But if you think you can do both, then you might be in the right place. And I want to acknowledge also that a lot of you have smartphones. So if you have a smartphone, sign in. Let people know where you're at. Say, you know what, I'm getting a double dose of spirituality today because I'm at a center that believes that God's good, so am I, and that God's intention for me is good. So sign in. The other thing that I want to say is if you're here for the first few times and have not filled out a connection card, I'll show you what it looks like. It looks like this. You can fill this out and return it to myself or anyone with a name tag, or take it to the welcome table, and we'd love to put you on our extended email virtual community list. And you'll get a spiritual practice to work with and also information about what's going on around here, which is much more than what happens on Sunday. We are pretty much a 24/7 church, or center, I should say, 24/7 center. And the last thing that I want to say, and this is the fun part, is that we believe that everyone that has been born is born with a beautiful and wonderful purpose, and that the universe loves everyone equally. There are no favorites. What that means is your birth is important. So if you had a birthday last week or are having one next week, if you would stand up, our ushers are ready to give you a gift and honor you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. Oh, now they're springing up. Look at all these people. Woohoo! Happy, happy, happy birthday. Oh, I love it. And one right back there. Did you get your gift yet? No, we have someone that needs a gift. So the rule is, yes, and it's pretty much always happening, ushers wear flats, and they fly through the air with the greatest of ease. So let's just take a deep breath. God plays no favorites. And it constantly awaits our recognition. And the way to recognize that spirit that's always around us and always for us, one of the ways to do that is to just be silent. So just let the chatter of the day be still for a moment. Another way to connect is great music, especially if you sing along. And another tried and true method for connecting with that greater aspect of ourself that is the spiritual realm is through prayer. So we'll have a moment of silence. Beverly will lead us in a song. I invite you to sing along if you want to. And Reverend Deborah Gay will lead us in prayer.
And so we continue this prayer that has been so beautifully begun in song. And let's just take a deep breath in together and release. For it is our very breath that circulates and brings us into unity. And so in this moment, we lean into that connection to the one life. Knowing that deep, peaceful place of rest, of wisdom, of complete and total love is always there for us. We seem to sometimes forget it, and so we bring our attention to it in this moment, knowing it is there within us always. And that we are such an essential part of life. That we each are that perfect and beautiful aspect of being that is only coming through your life. And so this we are renewed in our knowing that we are so blessed, that our life is unfolding before us perfectly. And it is simply ours to take in all that this universe is asking of us, to respond with such a deep yes to your life. Knowing that as you are blessed, you are a blessing to this world. And so together, we know the truth of this, and we affirm it by saying together, and so it is.
So I am on the fourth lesson on thriving, and talks on thriving. For those of you that are here for the first time, it's okay, because I'm going to catch up. First of all, thriving is defined as grow, develop, prosper, and flourish vigorously. Grow, develop, prosper, flourish vigorously. Thrive. I love that. Isn't it a great word? It's also a word you might want to incorporate. I was talking to someone last night, and they said, well, you know, no matter what happens, I'll grow. Now listen to the word, the way the word was used, grow, grow. Does that sound positive? Doesn't sound positive to me. They didn't mean it positively. They thought, well, I'll grow. Who wants to sign up for that? I said, you know, it sounds like you're going to be put on the rack. Yes, you would grow, but it would be painful. How many of you have that all associated, growth and pain all together? Like, ooh, yes, I want more pain. How about thrive? That's what I said to him last night. How about thrive? I'll really thrive through this. I'm going to let this allow me to thrive instead of just grow. So thriving is to develop, to grow, to prosper, to flourish vigorously. And there's some things I wanted to bring out. They're not necessarily the only way to thrive, but they're the things I noticed aren't often talked about. This isn't sexy stuff. You know, the sexy stuff was just hold it in mind. How many of you have done that before? And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I think it's because there's some things that are often left out. So I wanted to include the things that were left out. Why not talk about those things? For instance, feeling. You can't think a thing and feel the opposite and get a result. You can't think, I'm going to have this, but feel like you don't and get a result. You have to use your will, which is direction and focus, and imagination to create the scenario where you can feel the end result. A thought plus a feeling equals a result. Then you need to forgive. You don't have to. You don't need to do a thing. It's actually, I'm starting to sound like old-time religion. You know, like, you better be doing this, brothers and sisters. Do whatever you want, really. The universe, God, and I don't care. I'm only sharing with you what has worked for others in the past and for myself. And these things might work. But you have free will to absolutely avoid these things for a very long time. Just stay away from them. And then Sing your story of woe to someone because it's okay. We don't do this for God's approval. We do this, or the things that we suggest in this church, we do them so that we can be more closely connected to the way the universe works. And the universe is not only intelligent, it's also love, which is feeling. So it's a thought plus a feeling. We start to move into the way the universe works. Thought plus feeling. The next is, I suggest you might want to try forgiveness. Now, you can avoid it for as long as you like. But I want you to find me a holy book that says, oh, no, you don't need to forgive ever. No, hold on. Hold on tightly. You won't find it in a holy book. Now, the mystical definition of forgiveness is to give up an idea so God can give forth itself through you and for you. So it's like giving up dessert so you can have more green beans. Bad analogy, but you kind of get what I'm saying, right? All right. So you give up so that God can give forth itself. The next thing is movement, and eventually you've got to do something. But what I talked about last week, and I hope that I brought it home, is that outer movement without the inner involvement, the inner movement, the inner realization, it's just like eating sawdust. There's no juice to it. You're just going through the actions. And sometimes it's even painful. It's painful to be generous when you think you're on your very last dime. It would be painful. This is all I've got, but I'll give it because I'm supposed to. That doesn't do anyone any good. It's not good for anyone. But if we cultivate an inner understanding, and what I wanted us to have an inner understanding of, that's kind of a tongue twister. Inner understanding of. An inner understanding of is that there is something in the universe. You can call it the love intelligence, the creative impulse, the beginning of all things, the Alpha and the Omega, or short, God. That's intention is to have us thrive because its intention for all life is to thrive. Its intention, its will, because will is intention and focus. Its will for you is good. It wants good for you. It really does. Now, don't get too, excited, like, oh, it wants good for me. It wants good for everyone. Not just this center, not just Seattle, although we are very special today. Not just the United States, not just the Northern Hemisphere, not just this continent, not just people who come from our background, not just that we were the first to recognize that everybody's equal in God's eyes. It's just like that's not why we're special. We're special because everyone is special. We are important because everyone's important, and God wills good for us because it wills good for everyone, because it's good for all life. It wants life to thrive. Are you alive? Yes. Guess what? That means it's God's will for you to thrive. Its will for you is to live a good life. Now, this makes a really big difference. I was thinking about this, how I could bring this home. When I was in sales, which was a long time ago, I have been around the block. I mean, I was thinking about this. This was in my 20s, which was more than a decade ago. By a few years. When I was in my 20s and very early 30s, I sold equipment for a very large corporation, and I had already got the idea that God was on my side, and that God was in a conspiracy for my benefit, and that it wanted good for me. Now, that was a lot of work on my part that I'd love for you to do, but I finally got it, that God's will for me is good. So I would go out, make calls, meet people, create proposals, do the best I could, answer their questions, present the proposal, knowing that I would be at least 30% higher than anyone else because we were regulated and the people I was selling against weren't. So I just would throw it out there, just do what I could. I didn't think it was my responsibility to sell the equipment. Now, my boss did, and the company that gave me checks did, but I didn't. I figured it was God's job to find someone who wanted what we had to offer, and it would pair us up together. And it was God's job to make the sale. Do you realize how easy it made, that whole job? How many of you have ever sold? Have you ever felt a little bit, like this? It totally changes when you know that God's got your back. The universe has got your back, whatever you want to call it. All of a sudden, I'm just doing what I'm doing, and it will make the sale. Meaning it will put me in the presence of someone who for some reason wants exactly what we have to offer. That took inner shifting. I didn't do the sales call any differently. I didn't create cold calls any differently. I didn't dress differently. I didn't use any different language. Nothing was different except the internal shift. And it made all the difference. All the difference. That's what I mean by we have to have movement. We have to go about doing something. But the most important movement is to go from I'm all alone, it's just me. If I don't make this work, it won't. We make the inner movement towards the universe is on my side and it will work through me to do good things for me and others. Huge, huge. So I'm catching everybody up. Now, all of these things circle around and strengthen each other. The more you feel like you already have accomplished something, the easier it will be to move into the movement that it takes. The more you move into the movement that it takes, the more you'll see an obstacle and you'll forgive it. And the more you forgive it, the more you'll feel, and then the more you move, and pretty soon there's this whole cycle going on. And there's only one key left, and it really is the key that's the ignition, and it's the key that makes all the difference. Because you can know all these things, but you're not going to do them unless you're committed. You have to be committed to thriving. Which is the fourth key, which is commitment. Let me define that. This is why, when we look at definitions, we understand why some people are afraid of commitment. How many of you are afraid of commitment? How many of you think you're not? But okay. I know you're sitting with them. Okay, so here's some definitions of commitment. Perpetration of a crime. Now that really is exciting, isn't it? What a word. Consignment to a mental institution. A pledge or promise, an engagement or involvement. Now I want to give you my definition of commitment. Commitment, for me, is consciously choosing what you will do and then doing it. Consciously choosing what you'll do and then do it. For instance, when I do weddings, starry eyes. It's a beautiful day. People have been planning this for a long time. Everybody's kind of emotionally excited. Whether it's the family or the bride and groom or the groom and groom or the bride and bride, it doesn't matter. Whoever's up there, they're excited. And they're going to say these words that take maybe 15 minutes, and they're all glassy-eyed. And at the end, I say, now here's the deal. Commitment means you're going to do what you just said you're going to do, even when you don't feel like it. Because there will be days you don't feel like it. There will be days that you don't want to speak the truth in love. And there will be days I don't want to support you for your highest and best. I want to support me today. It's all about me today. I mean, there's going to be those days. And yet you made a commitment. And the commitment is do that. Because if we run on feeling, we will be wishy-washy. Because there are going to be days you don't feel like it. But you do it anyway. And if you do it, the feeling will follow. Now, that's just basic sense, right? And then there was this quote that you've probably all read, which is, or heard, until one is committed, there is hesitancy and there's a chance to draw back and always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiation and creation, all acts of initiation and creation. How many of you want to create a new life? Or at least a better life? You could have a great life, but you'd like a little bit better life. We should see hands, brothers and sisters. The rose bush doesn't say, you know what, I really don't need to produce more roses. I mean, I had a really nice one in May. It was such a lovely rose, and they picked it, and I am fulfilled. It just keeps on putting out the roses. No matter how good your life is, it can get gooder. It's called thriving. It's going from glory to glory, from on and on and on and on. So concerning all acts of initiation and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. And that is that until one is committed, definitely commits oneself, nothing happens. And then when one definitely commits oneself, providence moves too. And all sorts of things occur. So we kind of know this. I mean, I'm not telling you anything new yet, am I? So let me go into something new. You're all committed. Really, 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 really committed. But sometimes not committed to what you want to say you're committed to. But everybody's committed. Even if you're not committed, you're really committed to not being committed. And if you're sitting on the fence, you're real committed to that fence. And if you want to just, weigh all your options, you are committed to weighing options. But sometimes what happens is that thing takes over. You are actually the victim of not choosing, and you're committed to not choosing. That's why my definition is you say what you're going to do and then you do it. And you say what you want to do because it will help you thrive. So ask yourself, are some of the things you're committed to allowing you to thrive, really thrive in your relationships? Are the things that you say you're committed to, are they helping you really thrive in the areas of your career, of your health, of your self-esteem, of your personal well-being? See, we're all committed, but are we committed to doing the things that will help us thrive? Because we know all these things. I'm just asking us to look. Because oftentimes, we fool ourselves into not realizing how powerful we are with our commitments. If we want to thrive, part of this commitment is to stick with what we know when it gets hard. So let me give you an illustration. Last night, about 5 o'clock, I started getting all the signs of a cold. Chest. I don't know what was hurting here, but I must have been draining a lot. Lots of chest stuff and coughing and sniffling, and then it went right into my sinuses, and then I was sneezing and my eyes itched, and I was just like, I went from healthy to not healthy in like a half a second, seemed like. And I don't get colds, But the reason I don't get colds is even the beginning of one, I'll say no to it. No, go find somebody else. No. I just don't accept them. I just don't accept them. For, honestly, decades, I just haven't accepted them. But this one came on so strong. There was a thought in me that said, oh my gosh, it snuck up on me. I think it has me. I don't know that I can get rid of it now. Oh dear. And so I used my, usual sort of stuff. Oh, come on, go away. And it was still coming. It's like, oh my gosh, this will be the time I can't let the cold go. So here's this thought. I want the cold to go. At the same time, I'm thinking, but I could call in sick. Not maybe for Sunday, but I could sniffle and people feel bad for me. I could cancel my teleclass because everybody understands colds. In my mind, I was canceling all my classes, laying in bed with the cat, having my honey bring me tea. The cold wasn't getting any better this way, by the way. So I went to bed, still affirming I had no cold. I had the weirdest dream. I had a dream that I was in the middle of an election campaign. And this one city, interesting city is always consciousness. This one city was divided by two opposing parties. And the whole idea of the dream was who will win? Who's going to win? I woke up right after that, right when I was wondering who was going to win, and it was so clear. Who's going to win here, Kathianne? Your belief in God or your belief in a cold? It was an election. What will I elect? What will I elect as ruling me, the ruling government for me? God or the cold? I chose God about 3 o'clock, went back to sleep, woke up, no cold. That's commitment. See, oftentimes we know something, we think it makes a lot of sense, and then the opposite shows up. And we have to decide, are we going to acquiesce to evidence or are we going to acquiesce to what we believe is God's will for us? And God's will for me is not a cold, unless I want to stay home, pet the cat, and drink some tea. For me, personally. Do you know what I'm saying? How many of you know that you can be here and you're like so excited, like, oh, I got it. There's something happening in this room. Why is it happening in this room? Because if anybody has an aha, you're all affected by it. It explodes and gets all over you guys. It is easier to have ahas, to have inspiration, to have some sort of spark happening in you in a group, because it's always easier for anything to happen in a group. Good things and bad things. Really. How many of you have gone into work and one person had a bad mood and just got it all over everybody in an instant, practically? It's easy in a group. So you can have that experience, but my desire is for us to always be living closer to our spirit, to always be living closer to God, to always know that it's God's will for us to have good things in our life. That means I need to say, you know what? Eventually, I can tell you everything. I'm sharing with you all the stuff that works for me. You're the one that will have to commit. The minister cannot commit for the two people getting married, nor can the families. Between your soul and spirit, that's the interaction between you and spirit, and you've got to commit to it. And you've got to commit that it loves you and that it wants good for you. That's called wisdom, by the way. Because yes, we want good things. Nobody wakes up in the middle of the night and says, I really want a bad thing to happen tomorrow. I wonder how bad it could get. We don't do that, but what happens is if we see something and it triggers us, we believe in bad happening. We have to will the will of God, which is for our good. And we have to be committed to it when things look otherwise. So, back to the fourth key, commitment. How do we do it? How are we supposed to be doing this? First of all, commit to pushing past or dissolving ideas that hamper you. If you have an idea that hampers you, you get to push past it. The idea that was hampering me was, this cold has gone too far. I don't think I can catch it now. I don't think I can turn this cold around. Like God can't turn something around. Like this cold is way too big for God. If I can't handle a cold, what could I handle? And when I think of the healings I've had, why wouldn't I be able to handle a cold? If God can heal all the stuff that's been going on with me that you guys haven't known about, why wouldn't it be able to do a cold? Really? What am I going to believe in? I want to tell you a little a story about someone that sent me a letter, and I need to share with you my purpose statement before I share this letter. My purpose, my personal purpose for incarnating this lifetime is to use my energy and insightfulness to inspire and empower people to live in close contact with Spirit, thereby living in harmony with each other and the earth. Because when you live in close contact with Spirit, and I know that's all a metaphor because you can't get, how closer could you get when it is? I mean, really, it's metaphorical. Please don't send me emails. I know it's a metaphor. But my purpose is for us to live in close contact with Spirit because Spirit is the answer and the fulfillment and the healing power for everything that confronts us. And the closer we are with that, the more harmonious our life. So I get this letter. And it's a beautiful letter, and it's in response to my spiritual practice that I sent out last week, where I said, just keep it up. If you've got something that's going on and you're doing good stuff, keep it up. Just keep it up. And she said, well, I don't know if I can keep it up. And she gave me a wonderful and yet heartbreaking story of resigning from her job so that she could do things she loved. Unfortunately, she wasn't getting paid, and now she's out of money, and now she can't get a job again, and running out of money. And yet wondering why that would happen to such a spiritual person. And so I gave her some ideas, one of them being that there's no limitation to God. There's no age limitation in God, and there's no limit to the ideas that God can present to anyone for us to flourish. By the way, did you know that there are no money problems, there's only idea problems? Because if we're not having money, we've just missed an idea, and that there's plenty of ideas out there. So I told her all of this, and then I said, but you're the one that's going to have to use this. I can't save you, and I want to. She will have to apply these ideas. And the temptation will be to believe the condition more than she believes in Spirit. Does that make sense? We have to be committed to proving the highest spiritual principle we know at any given time. And the more you know, the more will be revealed. But you live the highest spiritual principle that you can at any given time. You've got to be committed to that. The next thing is we need to commit to our spiritual practice, which is our way of connecting with our spirit, whatever that is. Whether it's meditation. I love it. Our great James, he's such a great guitar man. He goes to a 10-day meditation retreat every year. God bless him. No wonder he has so much music coming out of him. You're quiet that long, and pretty soon your whole consciousness goes, I must express. Anyway, so we need to do whatever it takes for us to connect. And be committed to that connection, not just when it's convenient. Just like a marriage. You sit quietly for 10 minutes. You pray for others. You sing a chant. Whatever it is, you do it over and over again because that connection has to be cultivated. I mean, think about it. Can you imagine a couple getting married, going away, not seeing each other for 10 years, coming back and expecting it to be the same? You have to continue to cultivate the connection. The next thing is that if we want to do all of this, we have to commit to the things that will help us thrive. I was really honest first service about some things that I need to commit to if I want things to thrive. I don't think I can say it now because we're, being recorded. But I was thinking of some other examples. Because I don't want to use that example. So another example is, I really want to have healthy, happy horses. So I not only need to pray, I not only need to take care of them, I need to commit to the atmosphere that will help them be healthy. When the vet or the farrier or almost anyone comes to see our horses, what they say is they're well behaved, they're very healthy, and they're very happy. Because we commit to their environment. Not just them, to their environment, and they then flourish and thrive. Nothing is done in a vacuum. If I want a healthy marriage, and I do want a healthy marriage, and it is a healthy marriage, I must invest in my in-laws. Happily. Because it will affect my marriage. I can't pretend that the world we live in doesn't affect the two of us. If I want a healthy body, I must commit to doing what I can for a healthy earth. Because this earth affects my health. Does that make sense? We got to make a commitment to do something and then stick with it. So this is where I want to shift just a little bit. And for those of you that are here for the first few times, please just go blah, blah, blah for a while. Because I want to have a conversation with those people who have been coming for a while and consider themselves part of this congregation, meaning the people that are congregated here. And what I would love for you to do is to honestly and thoughtfully, courageously and prayerfully consider committing to this particular environment in which you're fed. Because just like I must commit to my family environment, my earthly environment, my stall environment, my farm and barn environment, we all are affected by what feeds us spiritually. And if you're here, I believe that you are probably being fed in some way, shape, or form by being here. Because it's Sunday, and it's Seattle, and it's sunny. Are you kidding? You are in the most unchurched city in the United States besides Portland. They're running neck and neck. There is a competition. We are in competition with Portland, and it's not about sports. It's about the most unchurched, and you're here at a spiritual center on Sunday, and it's sunny. There's something that you're getting out of this. God bless you. If people call you weird, yeah. If weird means not normal, yeah. You're here, yeah. So you're getting something out of this, and what I would love for you to do is to consider committing to something that will help this environment flourish. It's called an intentional giving card. It's called, what will I be doing next year, and how can I contribute to the thriving of this environment so I will thrive? If you pollute or don't care for your environment, eventually you're polluted and not cared for. This environment changes people. People change and are served all the time. I get letters all the time. You out there, Miss Jammy Poo, you too are being served. Well, I'm talking about the people in the jammies who email me. Yeah, I really liked it. It was good. I was, drinking cappuccino in bed. Hello. Anyway, we are being affected by this. And so I would encourage you to think about how you want to help support this particular place thriving. You could serve us by making an intentional card, or an intended, what do they call this now? Intended giving card, intentional giving card. You might do this because you're being served right now. You're receiving something from this. You show appreciation by not only giving immediately, but by giving so that it will continue to happen over and over again. You can also realize that you have been served, your life has changed, it's made an amazing difference to you, and so therefore you give out of appreciation in that way. I'm appreciating what I'm getting, I'm appreciating what I got, and then the other one is I appreciate what will be given. Because some of you might just want to make an investment in the future. Our children are being trained in amazing ways. One of our practitioners told a story of not feeling very well emotionally last week, and so she was also supposed to take prayer requests from the teens and the tweens. And when they saw how she was and what was going on for her, they volunteered to stand up around her, hold her, love her, bless her, and pray for her. Come on. That's amazing. That's what's becoming normal for a group of young people. You got a problem, let's pray. Wow. I went to what I thought was a great Christian church, but that's not how we did it. I wish I'd done it that way. So another reason to give is so that this place continues to do that kind of stuff. So I invite you to take out your intentional giving card, and I will look for mine. Yeah, I will get one. Thank you. It's saying together we thrive because that's a true statement. Tim won't thrive unless I thrive. I won't thrive unless Tim thrives. And we're not going to thrive, either one of us, if our marriage doesn't thrive. This community thrives because of you, and you can thrive because of this community. But we have to make some commitments to each other, to engage. Commitment can mean engagement, involvement. So just take a deep breath. I'm going to have Joel do some beautiful music. It's really kind of easy to do. You just look at this card and you say, what would I like to give next year? Especially considering that we will be forming our budget based on this. So we will either contract or expand based on what you're doing. And ask yourself, by your involvement, have you contracted or expanded? Then so you put down what you might give, either a week, a month, or one time. Write your name, your address, especially if we don't have you on our mailing list. Is this an individual or a partnership? Some of you will say that you're tithing. That's a whole different discussion. Tithing, what I realized is I used to teach tithing, but it's one of those things, if you don't make the internal shift, it doesn't work. But once you make the internal shift, you can't not. When you make the internal shift, it's like you can't outgive God. It's just like, what? Are you kidding? Why wouldn't I? It's not mine anyway. And then you also might put down whether your company does matching gifts, because if you do that, if you give $1,000, we'll get $2,000. That's kind of exciting. Just allow yourself to ask the self that is within you, your God self, what is mine? What is my part of this? What is mine to do? What is mine to give? What is mine to contribute? What is mine to commit to? And while Leora sings, And our board of trustees and ministers come forward to love on everybody who wants to give us their intentional giving card. This is what sort of the closest thing that we have to an altar call. You're not saved by doing it. But it's an opportunity to say, I'm in. It's like doing vows. It's saying, I'm a part of this place. For those of you that have pledged, you can bring your pledge up. Just leave it blank because we know that you've already pledged. But we'd certainly value and love any new additions. Thank you.
With these hands and with these hearts and with this vision, let us start, and with these tools and on this ground, we pray your will for us abounds. Let us grow our church of love and understanding. Let us grow our church of peace. Let us build a foundation large enough to embrace all in kind. Let us grow our church of heart and mind. In this moment and in this space, in your presence and with your grace, we ask for nothing but for your will to flow through us and be fulfilled. While the walls of fear that may have held us yesterday dissolve to dust upon the ground, simply fade away, and the power and strength inherently flows within. Move us forward now as we begin to grow a church of love and understanding, as we thrive in a church of peace, as we build our enough to embrace all in kind. Let us grow a church of heart and mind. We will thrive in our church of heart and mind.
Oh, how beautiful. And so I give thanks to the Board of Trustees and the ministers and those people who received the intended giving cards. And I give thanks for everyone that filled one out, and I give thanks for every card, and I give thanks for everyone who's still in question, and I give thanks for everyone here. I give thanks for everyone who will join us in the future, and the future, and the future, and the future. And I bless all of it. And I know that it is good because God's the only action and the only reality in my mind. And so therefore, God does show up. And so with great blessing, I simply say, thank you, sweet spirit and sweet community, for the opportunity to come together and create a thriving environment. And so it is. And let's just move into prayer and bless our gift. A long time ago, I was told that bless, the origin of the word bless, meant to recognize the good. And so we're recognizing the goodness of our gift, the goodness of it, how beautiful it is, how appropriate it is, how generous it is, how enough it is. There's nothing lacking in this gift. It is full of love, of intention, and a great commitment to helping this community thrive. And in so doing, all of that stuff comes back to us. That's, the S training, it's Einstein, it's old wisdom. What goes out comes back. What goes around comes around. So bless that gift. Bless it with all the love, the intention, and the joy that you have, and get ready to be hit with some more. This is the way it works, and so it is.